Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? We're all doing very, very well. Now, I've got a bevy of blades to show you. Some booty, some bladed booty, you know. And I'll have a little look at those in a moment. But first of all, a little bit of a recap. If I wince or groan or yelp, I am still in considerable pain with my back. It's still not repaired itself. And in fact, it's done something strange. It was the right side of my lower spine. So, the right side of my lower back and the right leg were giving me serious jip for a week after doing strenuous removals from my mum and dad's house. Mum and dad have now departed, of course. Not just the house, but this mortal coil as well. So we've been getting rid of all the stuff. There's nothing left, it's all gone now. And all the furniture. And I put me back out the weekend, just before the weekend just gone. And then the weekend just gone, we had to go and do some more. So that was me and my elder brother, who's got a bad back anyway. And we're both like a pair of cripples, groaning, grunting, whinging, whining, moaning, trying to get stuff done. But the women folk were saying, well, you shouldn't be carrying now. Maybe we should do it for you. But no, because we're men. We're manly men. We're going to carry on with it regardless. Well, weirdly enough, I got through that day. That was the second Saturday on the trot of doing all this. Because, you know what? Yeah, it's still giving me a jip, but it's not as bad as I thought it'd be. And then yesterday, being Sunday, I actually went out and had a few drinky poos. And a band was on in the one of our local boozers. And yeah, so little boppity bops, and thought, yeah, I'm great, I'm fine, I'm repaired. No. This morning, in fact, even before this morning, last night getting into bed, suddenly the left side was in absolute shrieking, excruciating pain. The left hip, the left lower back, the left leg. Oh, God, no. But it's just, you've just jarred it, it'll be okay. No, it's not. It's still pretty bad now. I have bathed it. In other words, I've had a great big long soak in the bath, which I thought, oh God, getting into that's going to be agony. Getting out will be even worse. I could drown in it. But no, it actually eased up a fair bit. And a dog walk with Roxy, the wonder dog, with a little pub stop at the end. For medicinal purposes, of course, painkillers. Wasn't too bad, but now I'm sitting down again. But this is where the problem lies. It's if you're walking and you're moving, once you've got into that position to be able to walk and move, you're okay, pretty much. You might wince now and again, but when you sit down, then you settle down, and then you get up again. That's where it all kicks off. And if you're lying in bed for hours, I couldn't even move. I couldn't even turn over last night. It was that bad. Anyway, so I'm going to get to the point, don't you worry. But first of all, another big shout out I want to give to Marion and their fella, Wolfie, or Philip, as other people know him. Now, they live over the way from me, over on the other side of the UK, in Sunderland. Sunny Sunderland. I don't know why they call it Sunderland. There's never any sunshine there at all. But Marion goes out and takes loads and loads of pictures. And she's done some great ones today. She was on the beach and it was all misty, really sort of like, whoa. Well, Dracula's ship, the Demeter, come hoving into view out of the fog. But all these enigmatic shots that she took of all the driftwood and trees that are piled up on the beach. It looked like Roanoke Island, like an old abandoned settlement. The ghostly remains of what once was a bunch of, intrepid explorers, now gone to the literal mists of time. But Marion is also one of these people that she finds treasures everywhere because she keeps her eyes open and she looks. So, not only does she might dive into a skip now and again of one man's trash, another man's treasure, and she'll find bits and bobs and oddments and weirdness. But you'll find things just on a street and on the beach, and in the park. Just finds these crazy things. And I think she's great. So, and she watches the channel now. So, big shout out. My dad was like that as well. My dad would always find things, no matter where he went. He'd always say to me like, always look where paper, if you see paper in a corner somewhere where the wind's blowing it, there'll be notes in there, meaning money, cash. He was right. I always did find money in those windblown corners where bits of rags and newspaper and stuff was always blown into a corner. And that said though, and I remember down in Bournemouth, sunny, you get the sun down in Bournemouth, not in Sunderland, and yet Sunderland's got the name Sun in it as well. Yeah, the irony. But in Bournemouth, we used to always go down there for holidays, and on the beach there, they had these big rock groins which went out into the sea, which are like they're tide breakers. And but my dad would go along them, and he'd say, "You never know what you find out in the water, getting washed up." A bit like Marion and all the driftwood coming in on the beach, And there was one time I'd be about 6, maybe 7, probably 6, but I could swim like a fish, and I was swimming out alongside, and he'd be walking down this groin. He had a big pathway on the top of it, and he said, "We're right at the end of it as well, so you've gone quite some way out into the sea." And he went, Christopher, here!" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah. What's up? What you found?" "Something gleaming down there. Go find that." He's pointing, and I'm like, No snorkel on, no goggles. "What?" "I know, something glinting under the water." So, get my ass in the air, my legs are kicking away. Down I went, and I found what was a belt buckle. Pitted, rusted, pretty much destroyed. And I brought it up like that. There was the remnants of some. It didn't look like a belt anymore. It was just shreds of leather were attached to it. And I threw it up to him and he went, "Oh, look at that!" I said, "That it's not from round here." It wasn't. It was from London. It was a London fire brigade service from about 1925, something like that. And he went, "That's London Fire Brigade. Well done." And he's going, and all this. And I'm like, "Well, what about me? What about me? What do I get for it?" Gets his wallet out, takes a £5 note out. And he went, without even looking at me, he just threw the £5 note into the water. "Go get it." So I had to go, £5 note, like. By the time I got that back, it was just like, what the hell is this? It was just like a snot rag. I dried it out though, and I did use that. Anyway, so this is a roundabout sort of way of telling you that I found some little treasures and weirdness, of course, as you'd expect, in my dad's house. My dad was a military historian, a collector, a hoarder. Like me, I got the obsessive side from him. I love military history, I love the military, and I collect and I hoard things, weapons, knives, swords, axes, that sort of thing. But mainly movie stuff, he says, pointing behind to all the oddments and paraphernalia that you often see in these videos. So I've got that obsessive drive from my dad, and the collecting bug, certainly. But we thought everything had gone. My dad, who died at the age of 94, and he'd spent his entire life collecting things, and had a vast collection of bayonets. He was, for a long time, he was the world number 2 at collecting bayonets. As in, he had the biggest, most comprehensive, and most detailed, and documented collections of bayonets in the world. Number two, he said. Get the fingers right. Number 2. But in Europe, he was number 1. So he was famous. He was quite renowned. I have discussed this all before. He would donate things to Imperial War Museum, other museums. He actually had his own museum for a while as well. Don't go thinking like, wow, marble pillars. No. It was at the back of the family shop in Wallasey Village. But it was Fred Mack's military museum. And, he's an idiot though. He didn't charge anyone to go in. He just wanted to show stuff off and to educate people. Very altruistic, but not very entrepreneurial, And but anyway, so vast collections of stuff. Sadly, of course, in his dwindling years, when his health declined and he was less mobile, because he used to travel up and down the country, well, travel around all of Europe, certainly, going to big fairs, arms deals and stuff like that. Arms deals. They could sound like some kind of terrorist there. He was not. And he'd pick up stuff and buy and trade and wheel a deal, all this kind of thing. And I grew up in that environment, and of course, I fucking loved it, didn't I? Great, weapons everywhere. Zulu shields on the walls, red tunics were everywhere, spears, Martini Henry carbine rifles, Lee Enfield rifles, Bren guns, the propellers from Luftwaffe were down the hall. They're massive, they're massive. Helmets, buckles, badges, belts, you name it, bullets, everything, everywhere. Aladdin's cave, if you're a kid. And my God, dangerous as well, let's be honest. A lot of sharp edges and things. And but anyway, so we've been clearing the house out, and anything worth anything, obviously we'd sell it. I mean, we've sold the house as well. That was bloody quick. That's why we got to get rid of all the stuff. And we had to work so hard and put our backs out doing it. But everything's gone now. But we did get to a final corner, and expecting nothing, you know, because all the things of value and the things that we were interested in have completely gone. Underneath a bunch of mannequins. Yeah, we like to put uniforms on these mannequins, and you know, obviously pith helmets and pickle helms and all that kind of stuff. So underneath a load of those, we found a load of old pictures, and we found a load of old maps and a load of old stuff. And I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I got, because I likes blades, I does. He likes them knives, them sticky, sharp, pointy things. I likes them. Oh, and I likes this too, because it's certainly the best painkiller known to man, known to Kilt-Man anyway. Cheers. Right, now, there's some great stuff here, and there's some shit here as well, but it's all interesting, I think. First, I'm going to show you. I've got to lean over there now. See, ordinarily, I'd have done this outside in the daytime so you could see these things properly, and I'd have been standing up, and I'd be actually using some of these things, or at least perhaps using them. But my back's just too bad to do it, so we won't. I'll just gotta show you here. Right, first of all, we find, now there's nothing unique about this. It is the bayonet, the spike bayonet, the pig sticker, basically from the Lee Enfield, number 4. This is the Mark II number 4 Lee Enfield rifle bayonet. It was different in the First World War. This is a modified one for the Second World War. I shall now show you it. Oh, there you go. That is a spike bayonet. See that? I know that the contrast may glitch out. I do apologise. There you go. And you can actually see it's got written on it. It's got number 4, Mark II number 4. It's actually stamped on it. Can you see that there? British bayonet. Spike bayonet. Now what would happen? The Lee Enfield had a little tiny, after the stock, had a little tiny barrel. They were modified actually, because that was the World War II one was a longer, but only about that long, then surrounded by wood. But First World War, it was a much smaller barrel, and it was a tiny different kind of bayonet you used for that. But this, so the end of the barrel would be there, and you'd just literally, see that? You'd just go, you'd slop it on there, sorry, that way around. It was underneath, so the barrel would still shoot. Bullets would come out of there, and when you ran out of bullets, you'd use that. Quite an effective, very simple sort of spiked bladed weapon. Not a knife blade, it is a spike, a pig sticker. It's a beauty. They're very common, although they probably aren't so common now. And fits in like this, slot it round, there you go. A lot of these would tend to come on a canvas sort of sheath, which is fixed to your belt. But that is the scabbard for it. Nice little pommel on the end of the scabbard there. Again, if need be, you can always smack someone on the head with that. Boosh, boosh, boosh. All of these things could be, anything you can grab can be made into a weapon, you know, if need be. Even if you've got nothing to grab, just use your hands. If you can't use your hands, use your teeth. If you can't use your teeth, use your nose. I don't know. Improvise something. But there you go. That's not in too bad nick, to be honest. There's a bit of marks and scratches on it, but the very fact that it's not a knife sort of blade, it is just a steel spike. There's not much damage you can do to that, really, is there? That's not going to bend and break. That's just going to go. That's going to pierce, and it worked. You know. So there you go. That is the Mark II, number 4 Lee Enfield spike bayonet, British Army. Canadians using it as well. Let's put that there. Right, okay, because I'm going to come on to the really good thing. But, okay, I like machetes too. But I've never seen a dinky one like this. Well, that's a little dinky. That's almost like you get a butter knife. This is like a butter machete, you know. It's very small, but it is a machete. And it's very old as well. It's pitted, it's rusted. These things can be cleaned up, of course. But a lot, as you'll see in some of the other things I'm going to show you, I like the patina of age. I like the damage that's on them because it shows they've been used. It shows that they've lived a life, maybe taken a life or two. But I like that. And to clean these things up actually would be wrong in many cases. Now this, not military, I don't think. I don't know. There's no markings on it whatsoever. And if there were, they're long since worn away. As you can see though, I often talk about the tang, the full tang, with knives and swords. That's when, you know, for weight, balance and strength, weight distribution, a full dexterity of a knife, a blade, a sword, you want a full tang preferably. And the full tang means that the blade is just one piece from there right down to there. And the handle, the hilt is affixed to the blade. You won't get a stronger blade than that. It just cannot be. You cannot get stronger than that. That is just fixed on there. Now, as you can see, it just runs. That's the blade there, and it's running all the way through. A lot of times when I show you these things, they're sealed, so you can't see the blade running all the way down. And there's different types of tang. There's spike tangs, rat tangs, partial tangs. There's all sorts of tangs, which means that some may just be only affixed, a little spike running through there, or a partial tang. Some will have a sort of screw fix version, and some, your survival knives, your Rambo knives, which I've discussed a lot, which are hollow. The handles are hollow because you put your survival kit in there. Well, there's no way, if it's hollow, you can't have a tang running all the way down, can you? So I would always say that that's the weakest kind of knife you're ever going to have, because you use that with a big chopping motion, that it could dislodge, it could break. But the thing is, nowadays, I'm saying nowadays, but the last sort of 20, 30 years, really, 40 years, let's go back 40 years, let's talk about First Blood and everything, because that's when the original Rambo knives were coming out. The adhesive to fix them to the handles and the hilts is really, really super strong. But it's no substitute for having a full blade running all the way through the handle. I'll show you again. Now this, where'd that come from? I have no idea. A machete is used worldwide. It's a jungle survival tool. It's a campcraft utility tool. It's also a weapon. The preferred weapon by lots of horrible, nasty people in sort of third world and Middle Eastern countries. And does a variety of damage. But, you know, it's very, very versatile, very strong. And this, despite its lack of sort of where's it from, who used it, that's actually really good. It's strong, it's powerful, and it will do that. You can sharpen this again, obviously, and clean it up should you want to. But again, I don't know the history behind this. I'd like to know, but look at it. There's a nice shape to it as well. But it's a knockoff little jungle machete. What else have we got? Well, here we go with. No, I'll show you this one first because this one's actually better. Right. The Khan jar. Look at that. Wow, what's that, Kilt-Man? What's that? Well, the Khan jar is a Muslim traditional dagger. Ceremonial primarily. Ritualistic. Now, they're often a J shape. This is not quite a J shape, but that shape is still exactly what Cairn jar is. Now, my dad has left a little sticker on the back of this, right? And it says, Cairn jar. It is. And he's put the price of £60. Don't know if you can see that there. Oh, let's get that. Oh, that pesky ring light. Take it from me. It says £60 on it. I don't know where he got that figure from. My dad would just pluck figures out of thin air. But on the stuff he knew really well. And he got the money he wanted. And he'd do deals. He was brilliant at this. And as a kid, he used to take me to these fairs. And he'd go around junk shops and all that. He used to have junk shops. There's no such thing as a junk shop now. They're all charity shops. But in the old days, you could go in and my dad's mantra was always, any buckles, badges, belts, bayonet, and people go like that. But back in the 70s, people go, oh yeah, I've got like a tray of medals here, and I don't know what they are. And my dad would go, oh, well, yeah, he'd see something worth a lot of money. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you a tenner for the lot. And they go, oh, right, yeah, a tenner. Because they were thinking like, oh, 20 pence, some of these. But he's seen something there for about 200 quid at least, But he knew his stuff. And not just badges, medals, it'd be anything, he knew it. But let's talk about this again. Now, I haven't taken that off yet because stickers you find on blades, and they've been there for a while. Now, you've got to bear in mind that when he put that sticker on there, that was probably, I would say, in the 80s, because the things that we found here were in such a deep, dark recess. It was the last possible part of the house and the armories that my dad had that there was anything left in. So they've been there since before I was born, and I'm 53 years old. So anyway, he's had that for a long time. Now, this is very traditional. It's very old. It's also brilliant. Now, the tang obviously was not going to run down to the end there, but the tang does usually run to about there. So that's almost a full tang. And it would be. But what's a bit bizarre about this one is that there's a guard. You can see this guard here. But I don't think that guard was from this originally, because it's not all the way around. I think the guard had come off and my dad himself has put that on. And you see it's folded up, it's bent in there. What he's done, he's bashed this thing on and he's bent that up there. I mean, it looks like, oh, maybe someone with a very strong thumb was holding it and they crushed it down. But no, that's me dad doing stuff there, because that is not from this blade at all. So he's added that on. But I looked at a lot of imagery of these Cairn jars. A lot of them don't have any sort of guards on them at all, because they're not meant to be used as a weapon. They are a ceremonial dagger. Having said that, they were used as weapons as well, but we're going back a long way. Now, aging that, wouldn't have a clue. That is an old blade, and it can be sharpened. You've got a nice thick spine to it. You've got a nice belly to it. The balance is fabulous. And it'd be you can imagine, you slit throats that way around. You slash, you hack, you stab. There's all sorts you can do with that. It's a pretty wicked looking thing, is it not? And I like it. I actually like this quite a bit. That's a Cairn jar, folks. Cairn jar. You can imagine Kirk saying it's a Cairn jar. Here's another one. And this one is the more typical one that you'd find. Oh, look at that little beauty. It's knackered, isn't it? Look at the pitting on that. The rust, the denting. That's a proper full piece. It's worked itself loose. Whatever was on the end there, but there been some kind of pommel head, something ornate perhaps, has come off. You can see that? That's whatever was there has come away. But that's actually a bit more sort of practical, very light. That hilt, the tang of this is going to run in there, because I know that's nice and loose. Don't worry about that. But that is solid, and for the weight of it, and it's very light, but I can feel the weight of that blade in there as well. Now, it's a J. They're normally J-shaped. I know the other one slightly isn't. Let's get this back again. This one is not exactly a J shape, but we know some people go, oh, that's still a J, depending on how you do it. But they did come like that as well. But this, it's kind of wicked looking, isn't it? It's like somebody you'd see like a witch using, like, whoa, Mr. Kentucky Fudge, yes. You will tell me where those children are, because I'm cooking tea tonight and I'm very hungry. Tell me, tell me. But again, sacrificial. Now, sorry, ceremonial, ritualistic. But these, despite what they may have been used for military purposes and for warfare, but they'd use scimitars and other weapons. But these are just held in the belt. And you see a lot of movies as well. Obviously, these sort of things brandished around and sitting in some mad turban-headed thug. You know, it'd be there. You know, I'm sure it's in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom as well. But what was I going to say then? Where was I going with that? Well, I can't remember. But oh yeah, if you go to Middle Eastern countries, for a long time, tourists are coming back with these because they were selling these in all the bazaars and all the souks, and it's just like, and they'd be very ornate, or rather fake ornate, with a few jewels on the hilt and that sort of stuff, and a nice little sheath to go with it, all with jewels on it again and gems, all fake, obviously. But and you come back, with, oh, got this. You can't do that now because you can't bring anything but like this back through, But that's your more traditional one, and as you can see, it's really had a lot of crap happen to it. It's unbelievably light, and yet that blade, which is light, is running all the way through it. So again, not a bad little piece of weird history. Okay, right. Now this, okay. That scabbard there is not for what's going to come out of it. And the scabbard is not complete. The little, what would be brass, or, at least certainly metal anyway. Little end piece, probably sort of almost triangular with a little pommel on the end of it. That's been removed. And it's knackered and worn. And it's not to do with this blade at all. This blade, again, is very unusual because I have no idea what the hell it is. Look at that. No idea. None at all. But again, you've got a nice sort of cross guard on it. It is not sharp. Don't go thinking it's sharp. I don't think it ever was sharp, for that matter. The point is sharp, but the actual edges are not. And this, I can quite clearly tell, would have been double-edged if it was edged, because you've got, there's two spines there. Now, if it was meant to be sharpened, they'd both be sharp, but they're both thick and blunt. A very sort of ramshackle sort of hilt there, but again, you can see, sorry, for a second there in the light I thought, oh, you can see it running through. You can't. That is just the seam of the hilt, the two wooden bits put together. But because of that, I'm talking complete and utter porkies, aren't I? Because you can see it. Look at that. What an idiot you are, Kilt-Man. Of course you can. It's right there. Just over here, I can't quite see in this light. But yeah, there's a full tang on that blade as well. So again, that's got stability and strength and durability. But it's so thin and flimsy. It's like, what was that for? And you can't even say it's a letter opener. Is this because it'd be sharper than that, for one thing? And it's a bit too big for a letter opener as well. But it's a strange little knife. It's interesting. I don't know. You can make up your own story about it. Of course you could. But I know nothing about it, other than the fact that that is not where it should be living. But it was in that, so I kept it. And that is really knackered. So whatever was housed in that has long since departed. But that is battered, bruised, and it's falling apart. But for now, that can live in there. Okay, right. Now the next thing is a piece of shit. Whoop. Excalibur? It could be. It's not. What the hell is this? Again, thick, blunt edges. No point. Never was a point on that. That's never had a point on it. Nice little ornate sort of hilt. Very, immaculately designed there. A Masonic quality to it, perhaps. A Knights Templar sort of style. A typical sort of Dark Age, late Dark Age, early medieval Excalibur style. It's not a knife. It's not a knife. No. You're going to see a knife in a minute. Over there. That, I think, was part of a display. A coat of arms, a shield, which probably had two of these stuck behind it. Or maybe even a whole array of them. Think of the Iron Throne from Game of Thrones. Just lots of these stuck in there. And it'd be on someone's wall. It's just a crest, a coat of arms. I reckon like a lion's head or something like that. And just two of them stuck behind it. Not even a big display, but would look great on someone's wall. Because that's all that is. And it's loose. There's no strength to it whatsoever. There's no edge to it. And even a baby would struggle to get his hand. It's still too small. If babies could talk, obviously, but it's just pathetic. It's not meant to be anything. But I know I went when I saw him. Oh, what's that? Because I just thought Excalibur. It's a mini Excalibur. No. Well, it's shit, but interesting at the same time. So. Now, first of all, I'm going to have a little drinky poo, but I'm going to show you now something which is the pièce de résistance, and I love it. I think it's fantastic, and I've had these before, but they were different than this one, and this I think is very, very interesting. Cheers, y'all. And I'm playing John Carpenter's score for Big Trouble in Little China, and there's a reason for that, and I'm going to go back to the reason for it. If you remember in Big Trouble in Little China, Jack Burton, me, Kurt Russell as trucker and adventurer and pure John Wayne impersonator, Jack Burton, strays into San Francisco's Little China. There's a girl with green eyes has been abducted, and yet he meets another girl with green eyes, and you've got the mystical Asian demon lord Lo Pan, played by James Hong, and you meet battles in the streets. There's demons, there's monsters, there's sewers, there's mysticism, there's great massive wire-fu battles aplenty. It's hysterically funny. It's one of my favourite films of all time, and it stars Kurt Russell. Already it's a winner in my book. Now, in the sequence where you meet the Storms, the three Storms, who are these super warriors with different powers, their opening scene where they come down to a big street battle, a big street warfare is taking place. They arrive and they arm themselves with Gurkha kukris. A kukri, you say? A kukri, I say. And they mystically throw their hands up, and the kukris go whoosh into their hands, and then they do a forward somersault and hurl these into the front ranks of the charging gangs. And then they use a variety of other weapons to dispose of hundreds and hundreds of goons. But anyway, folks, because I've got nothing else music-wise to depict the Gurkha kukri. The Gurkhas, the fabulous, famed, esteemed, ultra brave warriors from Nepal. Same with the British Army in the First World War, the Second World War, Iraq, Afghanistan. Incredible warriors. They don't get the recognition they deserve. They're still only getting some recognition for their bravery, but they pledged their lives to the Queen and the King beforehand, the Queen, and now obviously the King again. And they had this fabulous recurve bladed, very traditional, goes back quite a long time. These blades, these weapons, the kukri, dates back to the Indian Mutiny. Again, it's a machete. It's a machete style weapon. It has craft. It's a jungle utility tool. Chopping, slashing, cutting. It's fabulous. I'll talk you through it. And for those of you going like, oh, it's just, you've only got the kukri, you haven't got the sheath. I have the full sheath as well. I'll talk about all this. Now, what I'm going to say before I go on about the sheath and all that is that this is very old. It's very definitely very old. You can tell from the blade how pitted it is. The fact that where we found it. So again, that's been probably in that room, in that corner, for all of my entire life. That's been there. And my dad would have got it years before, and it certainly wouldn't have been new when he got it. Now, the Gurkhas have served with the British Army for many, many, many years, and they have there's different versions of these, and mostly they're bigger. The actual military sidearm that the Gurkhas have it should be 13 inches. So as far as I know, this is not. This is only about 11 inches. This blade, so it's shorter. It's even got quite a very small hilt, very small handle. But you know, the Gurkhas are very small guys, small hands. So I don't think that's actually a problem there. These get remade now. Scrowy, my good friend from down under, Scrowy, you've got one of these, and it's a modern made one. What this is, the style of this is the Mark II. The Mark II was used in the First World War, the Great War, by the Gurkhas, serving for the British. Then was slightly modified again for World War II, but the style of it remained exactly the same, basically. The Mark II. Now, the Mark II was 13 inches. By the way, a kukri could be any width of blade, any length of blade. There was a huge variety of different lengths and widths for these things. I don't think it was ever set in stone, but the military ones tended to be longer than this. And the age of this and the fact that there's no markings on it, the British Army put the broad arrow, which was the mark of all their equipment, the British Army denomination. It was the broad arrow, and it was an arrow split into three. So the arrow head and then two sort of shafts on the arrow, and it's on everything for the Second World War. And they would have had that on here. Plus, after the First World War, kukris went into mass production. All over India they were making these, and elsewhere as well. But the makers would put their name on it, usually there. It'd be stamped in there. It could be elsewhere, it could be on the handle, it could be on the sheath. This has nothing stamped on it at all. Now, again, like I said, we're running the blades. There's so much damage, as you can see, so much age, rust and pitting, that it could have worn off, but I seriously doubt it. You can see there, let's get that back. See that patch there, but it wouldn't have been lashed in there. It would have been a cross like that. So I don't think it's been like sort of grated off it, worn away, you know, on purpose. No, I don't think so at all. I don't think this ever had anything like that to mark who made it, which makes me think, given the size of it and the lack of any markings, that it's way older than the Second World War, and possibly even older than the First World War. I mean, I'm saying this, I do not know, but we'll come on to the scabbard and the sheath in a moment. Can you see some people call it a 3? You can see that the notch there, it looks like a 3. What that is, there's several reasons for that. Well, one, it is a cow's hoof. The cow is a sacred animal. The Gurkhas would never use this to kill a cow. It's a sacred animal. So that mark is there for that reason. One of the reasons. And also, The myth is once you draw your kukri, you can't return it until it's been blooded. It has to kill somebody or something, but never a cow. It's not entirely true. That's just a myth that was built up to make them all ferocious and all that. But that there has another good couple of reasons. When you sharpen it, it kind of marks the demarcation of where the blade is. The blade is on the inside here. That's the edge is here. That's your spine, right? All the way across there. That's broad, you know. But that's your cutting edge there. It would have a point on it that's been blunted off with time. But you don't stab with it. You don't do that. That's not what you do. And when you're hacking down, you don't use that point. You're using this recurved blade. That's what you're using here. That's your edge. But that, because what this is, as well as being a machete and a campcraft cutting tool, chopping tool, it's the perfect melee weapon. Close quarter combat. When you're in, you're surrounded, your rifle's gone down. Right, draw this, and you hack, slash, chop. Because it's one of the few blades that actually slices as it chops because of the way it's been constructed and the weight. That hump there, that is what supplies the weight of this, which when you bring it down, it's perfectly deliberate and it will cut through wood, it will cut through some armour, padded armour, it will cut through flesh and bone, you know. A favoured move, well, if you're going to sneak up on someone, obviously pull the head back and like hold it that way, and down you go. But it's a backhand upward slashing weapon as well. So you think about it, you've got someone coming at you, wow, the 13-incher, it's going to take someone's head off. Woof, that's it, head, ta-ra. Perfect, and they did an upward slicing motion like that, exactly. You can see it, like, look at it, my head, way, off it goes. But in a melee, and you're going up against other people who maybe have edged weapons or whatever they've got, and they're coming at you, bayonets on the end of a rifle, that could also be used to hook, snap, and bring things down. So you catch, weapon slides down it, gets caught in that, you disarm someone, use this. Whoosh. Variety of functions there. Also, people say, people differ on this, but I've heard it as well. It's also, it keeps the weight down and lets the blood, you know, if you've sliced something up, the blood will run down, hit that and drip off that way, instead of coming down onto the handle, the hilt, and making the hilt slippery in your hand. I've heard that. It's one of those. It could serve any of those purposes, but it is the cow's imprint, the sacred cow's hoof imprint. I believe that is certainly one of the overriding factors why it's there. Unusually, for a proper good fighting knife, fighting blade, there is no crossguard, nothing at all. There's no defense for you apart from that there. So if you're fighting and someone else's blade does come down and it skips that or comes down the back, it's going to slice into your hand. So a lot of swords, obviously, and knives have cross guards, which are a kind of defense for your fingers and your knuckleage. You know, don't want to skin your knuckles. You drop your knife, and go ooh, and then they run you through. You know, but there's a beauty. This can be properly sharpened and properly cleaned up. Not going to do it. Not yet. If ever, because I think this could be worth a little bit. Not that I want to sell it, but it's just that, as I said before, I like to keep vintage weapons, vintage anything. You want to keep that level of age and weathering. The real visual antiquity of something is precious. Keep it. Don't clean it up. Why? So that the stories to be told from this, it is a beauty. Look at that. Look at the handle again. It's very small, the handle, and again, there's nothing marked on that fucking ring light. There's no markings. Well, there's marks, but there's no brand name, no maker's name, no manufacturer. and it feels absolutely wonderful. Now, the one I had previously was bigger than this, but it was far more modern. When I say modern, I had it when I was a kid, but it wasn't old then. So it would be old now, but it would be from the 60s perhaps. And it was bigger than this. It had a deeper, wider, broader belly. That's the belly of the blade there, the belly of the blade. That was broader, and the blade itself was longer. It was a much bigger weapon. But this has far more appeal to me because there's something about this blade which I absolutely adore. Okay, let's talk about the scabbard, the sheath. And let's talk about why I'm not going to put this back in there. Well, I might put it back in, but I'm not going to draw it out again. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Right, here's your scabbard. It's made out of wood, made out of hardwood, and it's folded over, and then it's bound in buffalo hide. So it's wood and buffalo hide over it, and you've got a nice sort of brass sort of edge point on the end of the scabbard. You have your little flap here to affix it to your belt. Just run it through. You see, this is lovely leather. This buffalo hide. You have 2 extra blades. Yeah, these 2 little blades. When I was a kid, I used to love that. It's got 2 baby blades. No, what these are, I'll now show you. All right, I always get this wrong. You've got a shackmack and a carder. The carder is the longer one. So that one underneath there, that's your carder, right? That's a knife. That's a proper camp craft knife. You cut string, cut vine, cut bark, whittle away, you know, make little ships and donkeys. I don't know. But that, and as you can see, it's a lovely little blade. Again, not ring light, but nice little handle on it as well. Again, no cross guard, but it's just whip this out and you're just cutting, just small cutting, filleting a fish, something like that. You know, maybe skinning some kind of a small animal you just caught. No cows, remember, no cows. Sacred they are. And that's your shackmack. That is used to sharpen that. It's only slightly smaller, but it's a slightly different shape, as you can see. If you look at the shape of the blade and the tip, let's put it down here. You might see it a bit better there. Not vastly different, and not even vastly smaller. But that one is used to sharpen that, or even sharpen that. That's what it's for, sharpening. And these 2 live in little pockets here. So you put them in. Let's get that in there, and that one in there. Live there. Brilliant. Of course, you could use them both as weapons, obviously. Now, there's some decoration on this. I don't know if you can pick this up. You probably can't. It probably just looks like, you see, they're not scratches though. There is decoration on this, but no maker's name, which again is why I think this very definitely precedes the Second World War and probably the First World War, because they were all having their makers' names put on them. So if it hasn't, it's either locally made just by some smithy, some Nepalese smithy who's just fashioned it and sent it out to do its wicked stuff around the world, or it is genuinely from before they were ever doing that. They were just making them, and whoever needed it would have it. Now, the reason why I'm not going to... Well, okay, I might put it back in. I'm going to put this back in. There's a problem with this, right? It's almost like a predator booby trap, because remember I said, if you can see there, that bit there, where this goes in. So the two little other bits go in there. But the orifice for this, right? I told you it's folded wood, hardwood. It goes over like that, and it's wrapped around with buffalo hide. Now, the wood isn't sealed on the other end, so you've got to be very careful when taking this out or putting it in, because it could rip through there and slice your fingers, possibly slice them off. Who knows? So you've got to be careful doing it, because a traditionally made sheath will be very sort of flimsy around here. So if you mishandle it, you're gonna mishandle your own hands, because your fingers will go flying. Now look at this. This will go in lovely. Can't get the fucker out once you've got it in there. Now, before you go, oh, well, there's a certain way of doing it. There is a certain way of doing it. And the way of doing it is to just simply draw it out. But you don't put your fingers over there, obviously. You've got to keep your fingers back in case you... But over time, this wood has seized up, a bit like my back. It's seized up. So once it's gone in, it doesn't want to come out. And you do not want to be, and as I have been, oh no. And you're trying to, because what happens is, it gets so far, it gets jammed. And then you apply a bit more pressure. It comes out really, I've just hit me back. Oh God, I shouldn't have done that. It comes out really quickly. Got to be careful, got to be careful. If it's actually holstered, if it's slung, and it comes out, let's see if it, because this actually worked last time I did it this way. No, it's not going to do it. It's got that far. Obviously, yeah. Oh, it's come out. Why does everything make a liar out of me? I've been battling to get this back out many times. Like, oil it. I know. I could do that. But I wanted to highlight one of the problems with these. Especially, well, not new ones, obviously, or well-used ones. See, it just goes in so easy. Let's bring it, keep your fingers out the way of that. That's just come out straight away. How? Why? Why did you make me say all that crap and then you go and prove me wrong? Let's put it back in again. Maybe there was a certain amount of times you had to do it, and I've now reached that point. There are stories, some of these are true, of Second World War, a bunch of Japanese cornered the Gurkha, and he was wounded, and they took his kukri off him, and then he proceeded to take it in turns with this, not this one, or maybe it was, I don't know, hacking down at him. He survived with only superficial wounds, but played dead because they're hitting him with the point, not realizing he's a Japanese. They have katanas, they know bladed weapons. So which is why, you know, you think, really, is this true? But, you know, stranger things. And they hit him with the point. Didn't hack, didn't slice, didn't chop with the actual blade. So he survived. They laughed at him and threw the blade back down. Ha ha ha, got you with your own sword. Knife, sword, blade, machete. And he got up, dusted himself off, a few nicks and scratches, picked it up again, ran after him. Wah! You know, for Nepal and the Queen. Oh, it wouldn't have been the Queen then, would it? But yeah, there you go. This can be sharpened, as I say, and it is a beauty. I'm sure you'd agree, but it is small. Any of you that have got kukris have got, probably you've clocked that already. Oh, that's quite a small one, and they can be small. And again, as I said before, there's variations on these. As many people as there are on the planet, there's as many variations you can have for a kukri, apparently. But that is a beauty. There's nicks and scratches. The handle, the hilt, is so comfortable for me because I've got small hands. But I think if you had a bigger hand, you know, your fingers might be straying into the realms of your notch. And the notch is sharp, by the way. That's sharp. So, you know, be careful. I'm going to put it back in there because I've just remembered there's something else to show you. And the reason, see, I had Big Trouble in Little China behind me there because of the machete that's in kukri that's in it, playing its music. But over there, you can see Escape from New York. Why is that there then? Why is that? Well, the clue's in the name, escape. Not from New York, but just escape. This isn't a blade. but this is fascinating. I found this. My brother found another one. He kept that one. But mine is in a glass frame. It's not a knife. It's not a knife. Oh, this could be a mistake. He says leaning around like an idiot. Hope this doesn't glitch out too badly on the light. No, it will. Oh, there's the overhead light as well. Oh, it's light central. Should I turn it off? Should I turn that off? And maybe you can see it better. What's that then, Kilt-Man? It is a map of Europe. A map of Europe, Southern Europe. Well, actually, I think on one side of it, because there's two sides to it, that is 1 to 3 million scale. So that's Europe, basically. And on the other side, let's turn it around again, you have a closer up version of that, focusing on Turkey and Greece. And that is the scale of that. I think it's 1 to 1.75 million. Let's have a look. Yeah, 1 to 1,750,000. Oh God, you know. What is it? It's a silk escape map from World War II. Now, what these are? These were given to Allied pilots and special operations forces, special operations groups who working behind enemy lines. Anyone who's prone to capture would have one of these, and it's on silk because you can etch and perfectly illustrate on silk, and silk can be folded into little tiny minuscule, even great big mounds of silk can be folded into little tiny particles and hidden and secreted wherever. And the beauty of it as well, that silk doesn't make a noise when you unfurl it. You with a big paper map, imagine that. It's going to be, and you've got to keep quiet. You're in the bushes and the Germans are around. Nazis are hunting for you, or anybody. And you unfold it. This won't make a noise, but a paper map is going to be crinkle, crunch, crinkle, crunch, crinkle, crunch. You know, Allied bastard, kill him now. So yeah, your escape map will be useless to you, and these are for people who are prone to capture, and it give them perfect. Although, there's a lot of countries covered here, but it's to make you escape out of enemy occupied territory to neutral states, safe zones. But it's an absolute beauty. Now, I say it's double-sided, and someone's put it in a frame, and my dad has put on it, I don't know if you can see up there, it says, what does it say? Escape silk map, £100. When did he put that on there? Put that on there a long time ago. So that was £100 then. A bit more now, hopefully a bit more now. But I'm not going to part with it either. No, this, obviously, it was in a frame, but there were other paintings there as well. They were rubbish. Me and my brother were like, do you want any of these? I'm like, nah. And we had other people were there as well. Other family members were helping out. And would you want that? Could be worth a fortune. Hey, Alan said, this one's signed. This one's signed by the artist. Yeah, well, if you want it, take it. Put it on eBay. Get it valued. Do whatever. We're past caring. We say with our clutching our escape maps and our knives and cookeries. But so good luck to him, Alan. If you're going to sell that, I hope it's worth something. If it is, don't forget us. But so there you go. I mean, I could show you really up close, but you're not going to really discern too much of it. There are no names that I've seen on it, but then again, that would be a foolhardy thing to do, wouldn't it? Who are you? What is your name? I'm not telling you. It's on your map. But it's nice. It's unusual as well. Escape silk maps, £100. It's an absolute beauty. It's a piece of history as well. You don't know. That may have helped someone actually get away from somewhere. May have done. Oh, let's get that back. Shouldn't mention the word back, should I? Whilst I'm leaning around like that, straining it, pushing it. Folks, there you go. That's a bunch of weirdness. A bevy of blades and an escape map. So Escape from New York, escape map. Cookery, Big Scrum Little China. It's tenuous to say the best, you know, but there you go. Folks, I'm ploughing through this. But that's what I do. I'll be back with movie stuff. But I thought I'd show you these, especially this. Yeah, this won't come out now, will it? Let's put that back on again. Now this it's come out again. I really can't believe it. It must have just loosened up now, but that's it. It is a wildly famous, quasi-mythical weapon with legendary, you know, properties. Only the Gurkhas can wield it properly. They're certainly the best at wielding it. See, that's a small version. It may look absolutely huge the way I'm showing it to you right now. It's not. Trust me, it's not. I've got knives that are much bigger than this, but it still is. There's a sense of history holding this. There's a sense of other people and bygone times and exploits. He says he's probably just used to chop wood in some camp somewhere. And then he got the call to arms. I'm not taking that shite. He threw that back in the cabin, the lodge, you know. But it is great. Let's put it back in again because it makes a lovely sense of security when it goes in. Let's see if we can draw it again. It is coming out now every time. You should have seen this before. I thought I'll make sure it's out. I'm not going to show them trying to get it out because I'll make a complete tit of myself. Which I still have, but just for the opposite reason. Goes in, comes out. It is a bit stiff, like, but you know. But a beauty. I don't think I'm going to sharpen that or do anything to it. Because every single nick, scratch, scuff on that is telling a story. I just don't understand what the story is. Translate for me, please. But it's a beauty, isn't it? Folks, there you go. I've been Shabby Kilt-Man. Please, in the meantime, in this ever extraordinarily back-breaking, treasure-finding in-between time, please keep it Celtic, and I'm going to see you all later. And I've got my escape map, so I might end up somewhere by you. Who knows? And it says Yugoslavia there as well. I noticed that. Yugoslavia doesn't exist anymore. Laters.